So Deontay Wilder weighed in for his fight against Robert Helenius at 214 pounds, which is 23 pounds lighter than he was for his last fight against Tyson Fury. And it's the lightest he's been in 4 years since the first Fury fight, where he was actually a little bit lighter still at 212. Robert Helenius, in contrast, came in at 253, which is actually quite heavy for him. In his previous fight against Adam Kownacki, he was 246. Before that, 238 in the first Kownacki fight. Then 235, 243 against Washington, 247 against Tepper, etc., etc. He has weighed heavier than his current weight in the past, but you have to go back several years. 2016, he was 262 a couple times, 254 against Duopa, a fight he lost. And is there any other fights here where he weighed more? I don't think so. So, yeah, this is a pretty big weight for Robert Helenius, and you wonder why he's come in at this size. Was it unintentional? Because at the end of the day, he is getting up there in age. I think doesn't actually say his age here, but I think he must be at least, 38? Something like that, 37, 38. And as I can attest to, being older than Robert Helenius, you do find it more difficult to shift weight, to keep the weight down, etc. I've had to go on a special diet to keep my weight at a good level. So I have to imagine that for many other people, particularly very, very big guys like Robert Helenius, it's going to be a similar situation. So it's possible, I guess, that he came in this heavy unintentionally. It's just the weight he came in at after doing the preparation he did. But it's also possible that it is intentional. Maybe he thinks he's taking a leaf out of Tyson Fury's book, and he's going to go in there and put his weight on Deontay Wilder and bully him and push him around the ring. I am not particularly confident in 253 being a good weight for him in this fight, particularly with Deontay Wilder coming in significantly lighter than he did against Fury. When you are naturally heavier than your opponent, and your opponent has the ability to move across the ring quickly, putting on extra weight seems counterintuitive to me, because you're just going to accentuate your opponent's main advantage over you, which is speed. Why would you do that? Maybe there are certain instances when it can help you. I mean, Tyson Fury, of course, again, as I mentioned, in the second and third Deontay Wilder fights. But Robert Helenius is no Tyson Fury. He doesn't have those kind of skills. So I think that the speed difference between Wilder and Helenius is going to be more important than it was with Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, because Fury had such a skill advantage over Wilder that Wilder's extra hand speed wasn't really much of a factor in the end. Yeah, he did manage to catch Fury and drop him in the first and third fights, but he still came off second best in the end. So with Robert Helenius, who's nowhere near as skilled as Tyson Fury, I'm not too confident that this is a good idea coming in at 253. I would have been more, if I was in his team, confident of coming in, let's say, 246, even 240, as he has in the past. I think he's going to need some foot speed in order to get out of the way of Deontay Wilder's right hand, because this is not a guy who can slip and roll on the inside like Tyson Fury and, change up the angles of his body to avoid your shots. Helenius is very upright. He's, I don't want to say a sitting duck, but he's definitely susceptible to getting hit by that fast right hand from long range by Deontay Wilder. So I would have liked to have seen him come in a bit lighter so he can use his feet and move out the way when he notices Wilder twitching to throw the right hand. But again, we'll see what happens in the fight. Now, as for Deontay Wilder's weight, and this, I think, justifiably has raised some eyebrows, has gone from 212 against Tyson Fury in 2018 to 238 against Tyson Fury in 2021. That is an enormous amount of muscle, because that's what he gained, muscle, to put on in your mid-30s. It's not like this is a guy 18, 20, moving into adulthood, starting to gain his man strength, and then he naturally fills out. No, this is a guy in his mid-30s who has piled on, 20-odd pounds of muscle. that's going to raise eyebrows. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't people who can put on that amount of weight over that amount of time naturally, because there definitely are. But how common are they? And again, particularly in your mid-30s, it's not like he's a young guy. Because when you're young, your testosterone levels are higher. It's generally easier to put, mass on, like lean muscle. But no, Deontay Wilder in his mid-30s doing it. It's reasonable for people to ask questions. But again, I'm open to the possibility that he's done it all naturally. At the end of the day, he is in the clean boxing program, but many of us have our doubts and suspicions regarding the testing agencies and whether certain fighters have cozy relationships with certain testing agencies and certain organizations like the WBC and so on. But we won't get into that here. Just focus on Deontay Wilder's current weight, which is 214. Now, personally, I think this is a good weight for him. If we scroll down, the best he ever did against Tyson Fury, and I know Tyson Fury wasn't really himself in the first fight, but nevertheless, the best Deontay Wilder ever did against Tyson Fury was in that first fight. Went the distance, dropped Fury a couple times. Fury never hurt him in the fight significantly. So that's the best he ever did. He weighed 212 for that, which is lighter than he is for this Helenius fight. Prior to that, of course, there was the first fight against Luis Ortiz, where he weighed pretty much the exact same weight as he's coming for the Helenius fight, 214. So you could argue that they were two of his best performances, and he was around this same weight. Earlier on in his career, he was in the 220s, high 210s. So, I would say that this is a good weight for Deontay Wilder, and he shouldn't be any more than in the low 220s in my view, because his body wasn't naturally designed, wasn't genetically programmed, predisposed, etc., to weigh 238. So when you're putting on all that weight, the strain that you're putting on your cardiovascular system is tremendous. The cardiovascular system that wasn't designed for that amount of bulk. And I think we saw the negative impact that had on him. Not that there wasn't any advantage necessarily to gaining the extra muscle, but in my view, the advantage was outweighed by the disadvantage of a reduction in cardiovascular performance. So, yeah, I think this is a good weight for him. I think he'll be sharp. I think he'll be fast. I think he'll have plenty of energy. But that's assuming that those two devastating beatings that he received at the hands of Tyson Fury haven't taken that much out of him. You can get down to your ideal weight, but if the damage that was inflicted on you in your past two fights has left a lasting neurological, psychological legacy, then maybe the ideal weight isn't really going to matter that much. Do you know what I mean? So I'm curious to see how Deontay Wilder looks in this fight. I'm curious to see what happens when he gets hit with a good shot. If he gets hit with a good shot, I'm interested. Now, I've said in the past that the fact Helenius is a former sparring partner of Deontay Wilder, and that Wilder described them as, him and Helenius as friends, that's a little disappointing, a little concerning, because I'm thinking that maybe Helenius will just be in sparring partner mode and he won't really stick it on Deontay Wilder like he's going to need to do to win the fight. But I don't have an issue with Wilder taking this as a comeback, because again, he has just come off two devastating knockout defeats. So I'm certainly not having a go at the fact that he's taken on Robert Helenius. I think it's a very reasonable fight to take under the circumstances. But it is a fight that I'm expecting Deontay Wilder to win, and I'm expecting him to win it by knockout. Now, does Robert Helenius have a chance? Yeah, of course he's got a chance. He's a big man. He can punch. And many people would argue that he hits harder than Tyson Fury. So a guy with that kind of power is always dangerous. You got to watch yourself. But Deontay Wilder, of course, is very powerful too, more powerful than Helenius. So Helenius has got to watch himself. Wilder, for me, although he might not have the greatest boxing skills in the world, he's very fast, he's very athletic. He has a tremendous will. He's got a massive heart in the ring. And I just suspect that's going to be too much for Helenius. And what kind of chance would I give Helenius of an upset? Under the circumstances, I might push it to 30-35% chance of an upset for Helenius. But if Wilder wasn't coming off back-to-back knockout defeats, I would have to shrink that down to about maybe 20% chance of Helenius winning. That's just my take on it.